3 large dogs were inside this holding area unsupervised while Bentley was out in the small dog park playing with his owner, Sarah. The large dog started jumping up at this latch. Nanticoke police are responding to concerns from a victim of a violent attack in Luzerne County. She is commanding the lead and has done so ever since the numbers have been released tonight. At this point, with about 85% of the precincts in Pennsylvania, Kathleen Kane is ahead. Now here's how our poll stacked up. 75% of single people who took our survey say they would choose sex over sleep. Lawyers for Jerry Sandusky want more time to prepare arguments to have his conviction overturned. Joseph Amendola asked the judge today for 2 more weeks to file the briefs. Guys, we're here in Promised Land State Park along Route 390. That's in Pike County. And just in the last 15-20 minutes, the wind has really picked up. These floodwaters have no boundaries. It's not only homeowners that are dealing with the rising waters, but as you can see here, the Bloomsburg Fire Department is also underwater. Emergency officials are victims as well. Now, as we all remember, the Bloomsburg Fair was canceled for the first time in its 157-year history. But this year, things will be much different after countless hours of hard work and $2.5 million to rebuild the fairgrounds. And according to the report, the multi-purpose room, which is also used as the cafeteria, had the highest levels of mold found. A coroner said last week an investigation into a Monroe County infant's death was closed, but police are now saying not so fast. It's every parent's worst nightmare.
The fear that came onto me, I couldn't even speak to tell Karen what had happened.
On December 3rd, 2011, Richard and Karen Zhetkuski received a call that changed their life forever.
You know, Mr. Zhetkuski, your son is in a terrible car accident and he has severe head injury.
Damon had suffered severe brain damage and doctors said he would never make it.
We heard words like vegetable. We heard words like you have a decision to make.
But Damon's parents refused to give up hope. After months of countless surgeries in and out of different hospitals and rehab centers, Damon's parents say they saw little signs that continued to give them hope.
And I kept seeing things. Like I kept seeing his eyes when one eye opened and he'd be looking and tracking us.
After 6 months of no communication, Damon was finally able to give his first thumbs up, a small indicator of what was to come. 2 months later, he started speaking.
So why do you like therapy?
Yeah.
Pretty girls.
2, 3, up.
Damon was able to regain full control of the right side of his body. And although he suffered severe brain damage, his memory is miraculously fully intact. Damon is back at Dallas High School taking calculus and chemistry.
He just got an 89 on a chemistry test, and I'm so proud of him.
He sends text messages, chats on Facebook.
Go to your homepage.
Dribble it first.
Plays basketball in the living room and studies for school.
That was a correct selection.
He's a typical senior planning for prom.
How many
dates you have?
3.
Damon is set to graduate high school in June. While that is a feat in and of itself, he has bigger plans for that day. With a pencil and paper.
Tell me what you're going to do at graduation. What's your goal?
Damon announced he is going to walk across the stage at graduation.
The inspiration that he gives us all is because he doesn't want to quit. He doesn't want to stop.
Damon can teach us all a little lesson about life.
There's no way to judge the will of the human spirit.
Reporting in Luzerne County,
Yay!
Shannon Murphy, Eyewitness News. Guys, we're here in Promised Land State Park along Route 390. That's in Pike County. And just in the last 15-20 minutes, the wind has really picked up here. As you can see, this fence right next to me, the wind has already blown that apart and is whipping it around. So far today, we've seen several trees down on top of power lines. We've even seen power lines out in the woods sparking, causing a small fire that firefighters are keeping a close watch on here off Route 390. Now, the volunteer fire department has been set up as a temporary shelter because almost every single home that we have passed this evening is out of power. And the firefighters tell me this is a difficult situation for them to work in.
Everybody's got to watch over everybody else, you know, for, I mean, trees coming down right and left. And, you know, hopefully, you know, the guy behind me is watching me because I'm watching the guy in front of me or next to me, you know, to try to keep us safe.
They're coming down like as we speak because the more the wind is, the more the trees are coming down, and like someone will come in and say, we have electricity, and 5 minutes later somebody said, not in our area.
I spoke with Pike County Emergency Management officials on the phone a little earlier this evening, and they say most people have hunkered down for the night, which is exactly what they want to see. And we haven't seen many cars out here on the road. They tell everyone they should stay put if they can. And again, if you have power outages, both the Greeley Fire Department and the Promised Land Fire Department have been set up as emergency shelters. Reporting live out here in Pike County, Shannon Murphy, Eyewitness News. Susan McGarry is just one of hundreds in Bloomsburg forced to evacuate their home Friday morning as the Susquehanna River quickly became their front yard.
At 2:30, they came down the street in the fire truck, blaring the horn, started at our neighbor's house and went down the street evacuating everybody, and then came back to our house and said, get your stuff and get out. Emergency officials estimate at least 20% of Bloomsburg is underwater, the worst flooding they've ever seen.
The levels of water are higher than in 72, so none of it's good.
As if the rising water wasn't enough, hazmat and DEP crews were called to the town for a toxic gas leak, forcing the few dry homeowners to get out of town.
We suspect it's an ammonia leak from the Bernardi food plant that's located by the high school.
As crews work their way to the leak through several feet of water, the National Guard continues their rescue mission, saving the lives of those who decided to ignore the warnings. These floodwaters have no boundaries. It's not only homeowners that are dealing with the rising waters, but as you can see here, the Bloomsburg Fire Department is also underwater. Emergency officials are victims as well. But the community is pulling together, and neighbors say that's the small silver lining in this cloud of destruction.
Yesterday, moving somebody else's furniture, you said, well, you need to move. They were just so overwhelmed. They were like, we'll just take it and move. You know, like, you don't understand in the situation how much water is going to be in your house, and I think it's hard for people to process. It is material items, but luckily the town is doing great. Residents that live in these homes right now have clearly been evacuated, and they are just waiting for the water to recede until they can get back into their homes and check and see what kind of damage. A lot of them have told us that the flooding that you see here today is worse than what they saw back during Agnes in 72. Reporting here in Bloomsburg, Shannon Murphy, Eyewitness News.
This is tough work.
5 months ago, romantic nights were replaced with up-all-nighters for new parents Gary and Kara Mann. Like most, priorities changed for these parents. It's hard to find time for sex and romance as they juggle full-time jobs, housework, and caring for baby Brogan.
Finally around 8 o'clock he goes down, and then that's kind of when we finally have some time just to spend with each other.
But the Manns bravely admit the time they do share together isn't spent the way it used to be.
I definitely, a lot of times, would prefer to go to sleep just because you're so exhausted.
And they're not alone. According to our unscientific poll, with 250 responses from both men and women of all ages, the majority of married couples with kids would prefer to go to sleep rather than be intimate with their partner. And studies done by psychologists draw the same conclusions.
Research suggests that marital satisfaction goes down when people start having kids, and it goes back up after kids leave the home.
Now here's how our poll stacked up. 75% of single people who took our survey say they would choose sex over sleep. If you look at the married column, it's about half and half. But 62% of married couples with children say they'd take sleep over intimacy. Of the 250 responses, 81% say sex is moderately to very important in their relationship. But if forced to grade their sex life, nearly 50% would only give it a C, D, or an F.
So often things like romance are done after life's obligations have been taken care of, but in a lot of weeks there is no time left over after those obligations have been met, and so the romance is treated like a cactus instead of the orchid that it is.
Dr. David Palmer says making time for one another has to be a priority, and the Manns agree. Having a baby isn't the end-all be-all of their sex life. It's just different now.
It's not like as spontaneous as it used to be. It has to be a more, scheduled kind of thing, or just you have to communicate about it.
You may be surprised to hear it, but your sex life is directly related to how much sleep you get at night. Dr. Palmer says everything in life is better if you're well rested.
The tripods of everything in our lives is the amount of physical activity we get, how much sleep we get, and our diets. If those three things are okay, so many other things in our lives go better.
Ooh. Although the Manns are enjoying every moment with little Brogan.
I'm looking forward to when he does sleep through the night.
Yeah. For more than one reason. Shannon Murphy, Eyewitness News.